Hey guys, welcome to the MPC Fat Loss Hierarchy 3 from Meldrum Performance Coaching and the Complete Personal Trainer podcast. So neat. This is actually my second level of my fat loss hierarchy. So you can go back and listen to the podcast. I've also been talking about this on Instagram as well. So with this hierarchy, again, just put the caveat in that I always like to do because people get angry and emotional about everything, is that this hierarchy is based around general population clients. This is not for physique athletes or anyone who's looking to become a professional bodybuilder or anything like that. It's a general population clients who want to lose weight. It's a weight loss hierarchy based on what's the most efficient way of doing this. So this is why some of the things in this are a bit different to how most personal trainers operate. Where most personal trainers operate by saying that you need to do weight training first of all in the calorie deficit. We're going to take it from a little bit more of a evidence-based view that will work for this population. So the first training, I guess, or movement part of this hierarchy is based on the energy output equation of total daily energy expenditure. So when we deal with nutrition, we're dealing with energy input, which is a massive factor on our TDEE, and energy output is something that we can certainly work with. It's not going to be as impactful as having really good nutrition habits, and in the last podcast we talk about some different ways that you can do that, but NEAT is probably our best way to start optimizing our output. And what NEAT stands for, it's non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And what it really is unstructured and spontaneous activity throughout the day. Now, in an effort to standardize NEAT, and one thing that I want to be very clear on is you can't standardize NEAT. It's not something that can really be measured that effectively, simply because, fidgeting, how can you monitor that? Like I'm raising my shoulders here, that's a form of NEAT while I'm talking. Twitching, moving around, doing stuff like that, that's all NEAT. So we do tend to track it as steps because it is an artificial construct, setting a step number per day, but it is a way to ensure that people get enough activity and movement throughout the particular day. So some things to conclude, to be aware of in NEAT is that it's highly influenced by caloric intake. So if your intake's high, NEAT's going to be a little bit higher too because you have energy to spare. If your intake is low, then your NEAT generally tends to decrease. So this provides a bit of a conundrum when we're looking at mass gaining or fat loss diets. Generally, when we're in a calorie deficit, we want to move less, which decreases our NEAT. If we're in a calorie surplus, we want to move more, which increases it, which kind of causes a separate set of issues. But what we've found and what people have been doing for a long time with a lot of success is recommending step targets to ensure that people at least hit a relatively consistent level of NEAT. So someone's deep in contest prep, for example, hitting high levels of steps is probably a good idea for them because what's happening is they need to burn fat, and generally at that point when they've been in the calorie deficit that long, they just want to lay down all day. So with our general population clients, we recommend NEAT because the number of health benefits of walking. If you hear someone say you shouldn't go for a walk because it's going to tax you, please don't listen. Silly advice. Unless you've got like some serious medical issues. In that case, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast for this anyway, or chasing fat loss. For most people, going for a walk and increasing their steps each day to around 8 to 10,000, 8,000 is fine. 10,000 is not a magical number. It doesn't do anything particularly special. It's just a nice round figure. It's very convenient. It's going to be beneficial in pretty much every single case. No one can really argue otherwise. And the reason why I put it as more important is because it's a bigger contributor to energy output for the day than our structured exercise activity. If we're doing weight training exercise, yes, we're building muscle, but that doesn't increase our metabolic rate that much. It's quite negligible how much it increases it. Actually, EPOC is quite negligible from weight training as well. So our exercise post-oxygen consumption, so how high it elevates our metabolic rate. And even our calorie burn from aerobic exercise and high-intensity interval training isn't as high as what we can get from NEAT. Plus, there's also the way it increases our appetite and makes us want to eat more food, which kind of causes some issues with the calorie input side of things. So for most people, what I recommend is having some form of step target. It doesn't need to be huge, but also implementing some lifestyle modification. Some of the really basic tips like park your car far away, walk to work, all these things that can be done like walk to get coffee on the weekend rather than drive there. All these things do add up and do make a little bit of a difference to this overall. And anyone who argues that you should just sit down and relax as you try and recover is kind of crazy. So with that, guys, neat for your clients, set some kind of target for them for movement that is incidental to their structured exercise activity. If we generally make people more active, it has beneficial outcomes for pain, for fat loss, for muscle gain, for pretty much anything. So motion is lotion, more movement is better. In our next podcast, we'll talk about aerobic exercise and how to structure that for a fat loss thing. But for the meantime, just look at ways to optimize your NEAT for your clients.